Hello, class. My name is Luis Alvarez. Today we are going to talk about how gaming has been coming from a hobby into more of a luxury nowadays. Um, Obviously, I'm not gonna go so much in depth. My reasoning for this is like on the position essay, we had lots and lots of time and space. For this, I wanted to keep it nice, neat, clean, and simple. I'm not gonna dwell into too much like how much does it cost for a computer, PC, console. Might go briefly on that, but it's not gonna be the main topic. I just want to give you guys a broad idea of have what has changed in making this from like a simple hobby, something that you would do coming from work, into more of a you have to keep paying money or spend more money in order for you to have fun in this type of entertainment. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, I want to give you guys a little introduction here. Like I said, this is just to give you guys a broad idea of what I've experienced as a gamer and why this is also a reason to be concerned. I know nowadays everything is going up, like food, bills, services, taxes, everything is going up. So even these little things like these hobbies are also going up. Not that a lot of people practice these, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to talk about this. So with the gaming industry is pretty like recent. It's relatively recent. Basically started around the 1970s in the 80s. That's when Atari, Nintendo kind of took the spotlight and started selling their consoles and had the little competition going on up until 1990s where you had the PlayStation, Xbox, and whatever Nintendo had or has at the time. At the time it was a GameCube, but Nintendo has always been switching around. So yeah, now we're stuck with those three and the PCs. PCs being like the overall bigger, best of both worlds because they can play both Microsoft or the Xbox and PlayStation uh, games. Nintendo, not so much because they're a little bit more skeptical on their game side. So they're not very lenient giving those games to PCs. So they have their own reasoning. So it's really much a proprietary thing. Like we said, inflation, bills are going up. So is this gaming industry. So development budgets, um, the servers, if you're in a multiplayer game, these things go up and obviously they require people to work on it. And that's why we have increasing prices and other content that's available in the future that's also being made by other people. So obviously they need to keep getting paid. And that's why we need to keep charging for something, right? So, like I mentioned, Atari, Nintendo had one until Atari and Nintendo started having their own like video game competition with the introduction of the PlayStation. Like games were relatively cheap at the time. You can get pretty good games for like $20, $30, $60 was like the highest that you could go for a video game. Like it had to be the best, the most amazing game. And I mean, by all means, you bought the game and that was it. You had everything in the game. You were not having patches or updates and things of that nature. So, yeah, it was awesome. Nowadays, you're looking at $100, $70. One case for the $100 is the upcoming Grand Theft Auto 6. That's a very long awaited sequel to Grand Theft Auto 5, and they're thinking of putting this price tag of $100. And some people are celebrating that, mostly business people. But, you know, all the gaming community doesn't like this because $100 for a game, they're still going to get updates, patches. They're going to sell you all these other extra stuff that we're going to talk about, the microtransactions, then doesn't make a good impression. So yeah, this will definitely affect what it's up next, our player experience. So if you think about it, right? You buy something you really like, and then on top of that, you have to pay a subscription. You have to pay these little things in case if you like something in there, right? Something about your thing, you like it. Now you have to buy something extra because it's not free, obviously. This is what all these microtransactions, imposing memberships, subscriptions, all of this has affected all these gamers and the players itself. Not everybody is a rich man walking around or a rich woman walking around with lots of money in their wallets. So obviously, like the example that I've said here from PlayStation, they try to impose their membership, didn't go quite as well, and they had to back down from that. So yeah, obviously, player experience is a big important factor that keeps a studio on the top. But some studios don't see it that way. Some studios are here for the money. Like, and by this, they start doing microtransactions. I'm not going to go in too much depth on this microtransaction issue. I did went a lot in depth in my essay. I'm not going to do it here. The reason being is because it's a rabbit hole. I don't want to go there because we're going to spend more time than what we have already. And that is really a huge conversation. That's the biggest issue on gaming right now. So you bought a game and they tell you, hey, we're going to release content in the future. Oh man, that sounds amazing. That's great. I'm looking forward to seeing this. Playing new maps, playing new characters, maybe weapons or something. Hey, guess what? It's behind a paywall. You have to pay $15 just for this one. And then in the future, we're going to release another one. So that means there's another $15 that you're going to have to pay. There's this bundle that we released along with the new update, but it's behind a $10 paywall or points, in-game points. So you can either buy the points or you can buy the paywall. And set up two examples here, pretty good. Fortnite and Call of Duty. Fortnite is, at least the game is free, but they have all these cosmetics, weapons and stuff in the game that you can buy, which some people have made a lot of money because they had cosmetics that were not available anymore or not available at all, and they sell their accounts for money, which is interesting. You guys need to look at that, and some people made pretty good amount of money. So yeah, Call of Duty on the other hand is just getting worse at it. On top of the battle pass, which is something that we're going to talk about, and subscriptions, they just releasing bundles for anybody to buy, and just for you to like, oh yeah, if you want to get ahead of the game for this new weapon that we just released, you guys got to pay $20, and then you're going to have an advantage that it's going to be unfair to someone that's just starting to play. Like if I buy the game a little bit later on the road and somebody else already buys all these bundles, all these crazy stuff, and now they have a huge advantage from you starting the game, just grinding, playing hours and hours with your friends and stuff like that. I mean, again, I'm not even talking about the hackers, the other people that just pay to win and do all these things. So trying to keep it simple for you guys. So obviously this deters a lot of players, and it shows. Their numbers have diminished. Their player numbers are going down, and they don't really know what to do. They're trying to go back to their roots, but I mean, it all depends on how good that remake is going to be. So obviously somebody figured out that if we charge for extra content in the future, you're probably going to make some money, because if you have a good game people like, for example, the original Modern Warfare series, every gamer that I know has ever heard or played Modern Warfare 2, the original one back in 2009, in all the Modern Warfare series pretty much, but Modern Warfare 2, which had these expansions or DLCs that had new maps, weapons, cosmetics and stuff like that. $10 at the time wasn't that big of a deal, but nowadays is every single update. So we're clearly charging for more money. I mean, yes, gaming has become very popular. Esports is a big one. YouTubers streaming, Twitch, all these new platforms coming up have obviously increased the price tag on gaming itself. How can we make this better though? It's a great question. Let's talk about that. So, how do we make this cheaper? Well, starting off, some studios are not as huge as like Activision, Bethesda, or Microsoft Studios. So the smaller studios have come up with pretty good and pretty smart ideas. One of them that I want to point out here is Arrowhead. Arrowhead is the developing studio of my current favorite game, which is Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 started off with a price tag of $39.99 and $49.99 if you had the Deluxe Super Citizen Edition, I think it's called. And the interesting thing about this game is that they made this game cheap, and they will continue to release content, which is called live service, but they don't rely so much on the microtransactions. Now, they do offer bundles and other stuff for you to get. However, these are not going to give you any advantage of the game over the game or other players. And since the game is not player versus player, it's player versus computer enemy, the game has been, it's like an injection of new life. It's a new breath of something that hasn't been seen in a long time. Like it's an extraction shooter, and you have to accomplish some objectives. You have your missions. However, this game has so much fun. It's so well made, and the best thing of all is that this developing studio connected so well with their community that every time that something goes wrong and people voice about this, these guys quickly address that issue. And they just not make a post about it and, oh yeah, we'll fix this issue eventually. No, they literally get engaged with that. They do engage in that. And the game has had their first anniversary back in February 4th. And they just celebrated. They gave tons of cosmetics to people. They gave us bundles for free. And I mean, it's been amazing. So a lot of people are getting back into this game, and it's living up to its hype. And the best thing of all is that it's a cheap game. So this type of strategies are working well for the studio. Now, what about indie studios? Studio that is not as popular as these guys? Well, Team Jade, which is the studio developer behind Delta Force, the great thing about Delta Force is that this game is completely free. And it has like graphics, the quality, it's amazing. It's like Call of Duty, if not better, like Battlefield graphics, if you're familiar with that. It's like a major studio type of work. And this game is completely free. So just think about that. This game is completely free. They offer a multiplayer, which is a great multiplayer, like 64 players per match. They also have an extraction shooter, which is pretty well made for all the new hype of extraction shooters. This is also a pretty good one if you're looking at something more tactical or, militaristic type of game. And they just recently released a campaign, which you can play with friends, about the Black Hawk Down story that happened in Mogadishu. It's mostly based on the movie, but it is so well made. Like, graphics are amazing, and it's been pretty successful as well. Best thing of this game, though, is that you have to play to earn everything. Like, anything that you can buy, it's just cosmetic. Just weapon skins or the operator skins or the player skins. That's the only thing you can buy. And everything else you have to play. You have to work in the game. So these kind of that kind of setup attracted a lot of players. Now, that game was only available for computer, but They're working on console and on their mobile device. Also, all of them for free. Now, last thing is how are we going to move on? How are we going to go in the future? So, with these new free to play games like Fortnite, Warzone, Delta Force, and other like cheaper games, there's also been instances of like indie games that cost like $5 and have had huge success. So I think big studios are realizing this, that these games are made famous for how well you can play on these, because it's not about the most most amazing graphics, immersion, like super realistic. No, it's about the playability. So a lot of these studios are realizing this and they want to go back to that. Is it gonna take time? Yes. There's some other developers that really only care to follow their series, but some of them are also trying to do it with the feedback from the community. So that's one thing to take in consideration. However, bigger studios, since they're so big, sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't listen because they're so big. So we'll see. Hopefully this stuff is fixed or at least addressed and we stop increasing prices, because one of the topics that I talk in my essay was that, yeah, games are expensive and consoles are even more expensive. You have to pay memberships to play online in console. Computers cost from the most basic computer can cost like $800. The most expensive could be thousands of dollars, depending on the components. And just to put it on perspective, a video card, that's just a graphics card for our computer. The most advanced one right now, which is the RTX 5090, it costs $2,000 plus tax, and it's already sold out. So that should just give you a perspective of how demanding this industry is right now. Now, one thing I want to address here is the picture. I use this picture as what I've used on my discussion post previously. This is one of the greatest examples of how the gaming experience has been. If you see the red, is when developers or publishers want to impose their memberships, their subscriptions, transactions, everything, and you see the slow or the steady trend of like negative comments. And once they back down and listen to their community, how positive the reviews are, how positive the feedback is. So that's one of the things I wanted to bring up in this presentation, just to make sure that people know this is also being affected by all these other outside factors, our economy and the inflation, all these things that affect other services are also affecting these. One of the things that I really wanted to go with, it was the price of, I wanted to put it here, but I thought it was going to clutter up the presentation. It was the price of consoles and everything, and like digging a little bit deeper into that, but I can only talk about that and I can only go so much on that as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, I'm very passionate about video games. I've been playing video games since I was 12, 13 years old. I've been growing up with these consoles, with these games, and they've been part of my life. So I've been, like, Helldivers 2 has been an amazing journey so far. Since I had my surgery last year, I've been playing that game constantly, enjoying the story, like everything. So I'm really passionate about this. I really enjoy playing my games. So there you go, your ethos logos, pathos. I show you the statistics. I show you everything. Those are my rhetorical components right there. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.